Though that catchy tune can mean just one thing and one thing only, NSU SportsBeat is on the air. Mike Laderman, Dr. Pat Feely, and you bonding together through TV land. Hey, we've got an amazing show today. I know I say that every single time, Pat, but we do. We're going to look back at the last show and see all the mistakes that we made in trying to predict what would happen for this past month.
Yeah, some of our questions are being answered right now, Mike. Women's tennis, we discussed them last show, off to a 3-8 start right now, 2-2 in the conference. But they're right there. They're just losing some matches 4-3. They can't get that second doubles win.
Yeah, they're not playing bad whatsoever. I mean, singles-wise, you're getting the wins from Kim Santos, from Nancy Azoulay, from Carrie Lathan, Michelle Mertens. They're all getting that. But they've only been getting, like you said, that one doubles wins. Should we get another doubles win, we're going to be winning the matches. Talk about now the men's golf team, though, Pat. I mean, they've really had a fantastic finish just recently. Sure.
Great outing at the Northwood Invitational where they finished 4th out of 17 teams. And we did have the tournament winner in Eric Buck. He shot a 72-71 for a 1-under par. Great performance.
And baseball, we also had questions about them on the last show. Those questions also being answered, especially from the pitching staff.
Yeah, the team's hovering around 500 right now, but some of those young arms we talked about last show, Todd Gittleman, Bryan Needle, they're getting stronger in each outing. Some of the younger guys, too, hitting the ball well, Tommy Molina.
We'll get more to the baseball team later on in the show, Pat. Let's go to the team now that really didn't have many questions, if any questions, last month, that being the women's softball team.
Yeah, you don't have many questions when you're 19-3 and on a 9-game winning streak. This team's just off to a great start.
The pitching is there, the hitting is there, the defense is there. First, go over to pitching because this is a staff that's got to be one of the top staffs in America.
Yeah, .91 ERA. They're just amazing. Julie King, she's thrown a no-hitter, she's thrown a one-hitter. I mean, her ERA is .71.
Shannon Sawyer in the middle of the bunch, 3-0 record right now. She's just starting to get back in the swing of things after an injury sideline. Her ERA is, a .9. And then you got Cameran Morgan, who is, also has just one loss. Got one hitter just the other day at the Rebel game. And her ERA is an awful 1.2.
Yeah, but you look at that, Mike, and they've got a great defense behind them. .971 fielding percentage for this team. They've only had 19 errors, so less than 1 error a game. The pitchers are confident because they know that the defense is going to field the ball and make the play.
And also the hitting is doing the job for this team, too. I mean, Kim Eason, she's having an amazing year, isn't she?
Her slugging percentage up over 700. I mean, just amazing. She's getting a lot of extra base hits, driving in a lot of runs. Team batting average is .325.
And then, of course, you have Heidi Wickham, Diane Ocampo. They're all doing the job, but a dangerous thing when you're getting all these hits, a lot of people left on base.
Yeah, they do tend to leave some runners on base, but sooner or later you have to get out of the inning. So they're going to do that naturally because they get so many runners on base.
All right, Pat, now talk about that defense that we mentioned before. That's got to make everybody play a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, everyone's on their toes, Mike, because they know these pitchers are going to throw strikes, as evidenced by their record.
Well, that's the thing, Pat. This team has so many strengths that this defense is sometimes overlooked. But it's that same defense that has everybody's stamp of approval.
Our defense is phenomenal this year. I couldn't trust them more. A lot of times before I even finish the pitch, I start walking off the field because I know that they're just going to make the play. That's maybe a little cocky on my part, but I just know that they're going to back me up.
Oh, we're very strong. I mean, I feel comfortable if for some reason I walk a batter or say somebody gets on base that if somebody hits the ball next time up, then turn a double play or we'll be able to get them out. We're very strong on defense.
As a pitcher, all you rely on is your defense. If there's a hit or if there's an error, it reflects on you. And so the defense is extremely important, and I've had awesome defense behind me.
Our defense is really important. Our defense is what is making us win the games. Our offense usually comes on a little bit later in the innings, but our defense holds us until our offense does come along.
I think the defense is a strong key factor in the way that we play. I think it's part of the reason why we're so successful.
Our defense is great. Only as we're 19-3, 16 errors. Can't beat that. We're making all the plays. The pitching staff is throwing strikes. They're letting our infield and outfield do the job.
I have confidence in everyone on the field. I've never felt that before. We've always had one glove sucker in the outfield or something like that. Not this year. They're all excellent.
We're a strong defense because I think all of our players are fundamentally strong and their minds are in the game. No matter what we do, runner on, no runners on, we're always going to get an out somewhere.
I have complete and total faith in my team behind me. I think the reason I'm so confident is because they've proven it over and over. And every time, every play, they always seem to come up with something. And even if the defense doesn't, then the offense comes through.
We don't make a lot of errors, and our defense is really strong. I think that's what's keeping us going is our defense. We're able to throw the ball around because we trust each other, and we're able to get outs that way.
I think we have a very talented team. Everybody has tremendous ability, And it's finally now that everyone's using their ability to play together as a team, and that's what's making us successful.
There's many more things. I mean, I could keep on, but we'll be here for 4 hours.
As you could tell, there's a lot to be excited about with women's softball. They have that great defense that we just spoke about, the great pitching, the great hitting, and now, Pat, they finally have a national ranking to go with it.
Yeah, which is long overdue, Mike. I think last year this team was overlooked by the voters because they finished the season 33-13, a third-place finish at the regional tournament where they just played fantastic, yet they only received 7 honorable mention votes.
Yeah, I think that had a lot of people scratching their heads, wondering how a team could do so well at a regional tournament and still only get the 7 votes. But hey, the respect starts coming this year when, in the preseason ranking, they get that number 19 spot.
Yeah, and I think they're only going to move up because the schedule that Robyn has the team playing in these more southeast regional tournaments where you play the Valdostas and the Berries, Lynn, St. Leo, Tampa, you play some of those bigger Division II schools, more people are going to see this team play and realize how good they are.
And they're getting the wins against those teams, and they're getting 100 wins. I mean, as we're taping right now, they're still shooting for the 100, but when this show is airing, they should have the 100. 100 wins in just 3.5 years. That's got to be a great plan.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment for Robyn. She had a master plan when she came in here for this team, and right now they're almost following it to the T. And like I said, a great accomplishment for Robyn and the team to reach that 100 wins.
So let's see now. This is a team that's just 3.5 years old. They're playing teams in all these different divisions. They're beating those teams. They have a number 19 national ranking. Pat, this is a team that has found the road to success is well worth the wait.
I definitely think we're starting to get respect now that we're ranked 19th. But after coming from the Rebel Games just this past weekend, I mean, we did awesome. That I expect the next rankings that we're going to be higher. And it just seemed that everyone was watching our game when we played, that we were the team to beat.
I think there's a little pressure on us now that we have a ranking, but I believe that that just makes us more confident and more aggressive out on the field, knowing that we have the ranking. We are supposed to win the games that make us come out more aggressive and actually take charge and win.
Being ranked 19, that helps out the program big time. I mean, Robyn deserves it. She's done a hell of a job this last 4 years, and the girls are doing a great job.
It is long overdue. I mean, the respect we gained this year, I think, came from how we played in regionals last year, beating the team that did win.
We're trying our best to shoot for the top 10, so we can go ahead and be there in the nationals.
We want to win. We want to go all the way. Win nationals, not just go there. We want to take charge and win it all.
All that's left for the women's softball team is to try and finish in the top 10 and try and get that automatic berth to the national tournament. And hey, all that's left for us is still 2 more rounds. We got the Mac Daddy in the house coming up next, talking hoops, NSU SportsBeat.
Someone out there needs help, and you've decided to save them. Every year, thousands of people die waiting for organ and tissue transplants. To be a donor, even if you've signed something, you must tell your family now so they can carry out your decision later. Otherwise, it's like throwing a 12-foot rope to someone who's 15 feet away. Share your life. Share your decision.
Lazarus and I would like to welcome you to the Humane Society of Broward County. This facility has been serving the public since 1944. It's a state-of-the-art animal shelter. Here we can provide orphaned animals with food, veterinary care, shelter, exercise, and a place to sleep. But the one thing we can't give them is a loving home. Adopt a furry friend of your own. The Humane Society of Broward County, 989-3977 or 463-4870.
He protects all living things in the forest. But he can't do it alone. Please don't play with matches. Put out your campfires. And never, ever forget the words of Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Hey, welcome back to the second quarter of NSU SportsBeat. Mike Laderman now here with the Mac Daddy himself, Coach Tony McAndrews of the men's basketball team. And Coach, welcome aboard and welcome to the hot seat. Let's wrap up, I guess, this past season that we just had. 15-17 overall record. You guys end up going up against Embry-Riddle, the eventual champion that you have to face in the conference tournament, and bow out in the quarterfinals. Before that, though, we had a 4-game winning streak going into conference. When you look back, what are you going to remember this season?
Well, I think the progress we made, taking care of the basketball, the development of our young people, and the consistency that our experienced players gave us. And then I think our 4-game winning streak in the conference towards the end of the season and playing our best towards the end, we were right on schedule. And then our last game, we didn't really play real well. And then Sherard hurt his ankle in warm-up. So, but I was pleased with the progress of the veterans and the young people.
Yet Sherard hurting the ankle, like you mentioned. Also, Bryan Taylor out with an injury. Yet we still had the 4-game winning streak without Taylor. That's got to be a great sign that you guys could play so well without the guys that were injured.
We lost Bryan for, what was it, 11 games, 8 games, and Robert early in the year, 4 games. So, and Bryan was playing very well. He had in conference play, I think he had 9 points and 5 rebounds a game. So that's a lot to lose. And then putting a young player, Troy Resback, in his spot. And so it was difficult for him, but he did a good job.
Really good play out of a lot of people. You got the 2 all-conference players, Sherard Hernandez and Robert Robinson. Jeff Pianis leading the conference in assists. That also has to make you feel good as we go into next year, because these guys are going to be that much older, that much wiser.
Well, I think so. They'll be obviously the strongholds of our team. Our front line was very tough this year, and then Jeff came on. Not only did he lead the league in assists, but he averaged 10 points, almost 10 points in conference play, and became an outside threat from the 3-point line. And so that's been very needed in our offense as well. So that with the emergence of Rico Poblah giving us some help in the perimeter, and Andy Platt, who I think is probably our most improved player, along with Troy, and the play of the other players, I think we developed very well.
This team is losing just 1 senior that's graduating, that being Chad Bobick. First, talk about Chad, how he performed later on in the year, and then talk about how it's great to have everybody coming back.
Well, Chad had a great year for us. He's a player that's made progress every year. He's gotten stronger. He's physically a lot stronger. He has been, helped us with rebound, and fed the post very well from the 2 positions, the right wing, and then he averaged 11 points in conference play and shot 40% from the 3-point line. So that was very instrumental in us being effective from the outside.
You got 7 guys coming back, 4 of the starters coming back. You've got to be looking ahead towards the next year saying, yeah, this is going to be a great season.
Well, it can be and it should be. I think the players are looking forward to that, and with those expectations as well. I think it's nice that the coach feels we're going to be strong, but I think it's even more important that the players feel we're going to be strong. And they practice over the summer with that in mind in preparation for having a great year.
Up at the conference tournament, I spoke with the majority of the other coaches in the conference, and they're all nervous about Nova Southeastern next year just because of what we mentioned. Virtually everybody's coming back. How does that make you feel when you hear that all the coaches are worried about NSU?
Well, that's fine. It makes us feel good because we're respected. Therein lies the challenge to reach those expectations and to play consistently and be a threat. And realizing that everybody thinks you're going to be a good team, they're going to be ready for you, and if they can beat you, that'll make their season or give them great momentum. So we'll have to be ready for that challenge.
Well, Coach, we're all looking ahead towards next year. We hope you have a great offseason, too. That was Coach Tony McAndrews, head men's basketball coach at Nova Southeastern University. Hey, when we come back, the doctor's in the house. Pat Thiele talking baseball with us right after this.
Lung disease and other breathing problems are the leading cause of death in infants. But thanks to the American Lung Association's efforts in research and education, more kids are able to grow up to become what they were always meant to be, a real handful. Help us fight lung disease and air pollution. Call 1-800-LUNG-USA, because when you can't breathe, nothing else matters.
It takes so little to save our rivers and oceans for future generations. If we use less toxic household cleaners, we protect a little. Fewer lawn care chemicals, a little more. And recycling used motor oil gains us so much. In fact, there are many things we can do in our everyday lives that can help stop water pollution forever. Clean water, if we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
Who's working to make sure that all babies grow up to be healthy kids? Please, join our campaign for healthier babies.
Hey, welcome back to round 3. Of NSU Sports Beat, Michael Laderman back in the house is the good Dr. Pat Feely. And Dr. Pat, let's talk about baseball now. Baseball team, we spoke about them in the beginning of the show. We spoke about them last month as to how many questions they had to be answered. And lo and behold, they're answering the questions, and they're answering them on the playing field.
Yeah, and the pitching staff's coming through with some of those answers right now. Early on, some of these pitchers got knocked around pretty hard. And it's taken them now more and more innings. They're getting better with each outing. And as they get better, they're throwing strikes. They're letting the defense behind them make the plays.
Yeah, their confidence level earlier in the season had to have been shot, especially after the first couple of weeks. And I know when we were talking about it last month, we looked at the first couple of weeks and we didn't know where this team would be heading because of such a young staff. But now that they have that confidence level, sky's the limit.
Yeah, it is. And the confidence level is building. And again, talk about those young guys on this staff. Out of the 6 guys who've seen action out of the pen on this staff, only 2 of them, Matt Bennett and Felipe Suarez, were part of the staff last year. So when you have that many unknowns or question marks, you know, there's obviously going to be some problems.
Hey, let's talk about Bennett. Let's talk about Suarez, even John Hassel, Joe Giamule. How much pressure do they have to have on their shoulders with these, you know, the young guys that they have underneath their wings?
Well, if there's any pressure on Felipe Suarez, he's handled it great because returning Conference Player of the Year, you know, he's off to a great start, ERA below 2, striking guys out. He's pitching very well. So he's coming out every inning or every outing very strong. Matt Bennett, again, he's, you know, he battles guys. He gets you some innings, which is important for this team. Somebody to eat up some innings, and Matt Bennett's going to go the 5 to 7 innings that we need him to.
Early on in the season, did these guys feel that they had to have all the pressure on themselves that they had, like Felipe Suarez had to pitch the game of his life to get a win for us?
Well, I think he did because you looked, and again, the Todd Gittlemans and the Bryan Needles, Joe Giamule, who's now a pitcher coming out from a knee injury. He used to be a middle infielder. He's now a pitcher. You know, those guys, we weren't really sure what they were going to do once they got on the mound.
Young guys, though, they got to be able to look up and see that John Hassel is going to be coming back. They got to see that Felipe Suarez is there. They got to feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, they do. And John Hassel, you mentioned John Hassel, he's really the wild card in all this because if John Hassel comes back from arm surgery like we think, you know, everything's going well for him right now, and we expect him back sometime this month. Once he comes back and we slide him into the number 2 slot, then you move Matt Bennett to 3. Your middle relief gets better because some of the guys that are having to start now can go into middle relief.
So many young guys, Pat, like you mentioned, the Gittlemans and the Needles, they've got to feel at times like they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Well, yeah, I feel that we feel a little pressure that Todd and I, the youngsters, freshmen coming in, along with the injuries, feel like we've had to step it up. Just getting the feet wet first part of the season, I think that's a big part of getting in and playing college ball is just the first few appearances.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit, just not much though, because I feel like there's not really that many people behind us. That's about it. I don't feel that much pressure. Maybe just a tad.
They got some pressure because the NSU pitching staffs of late, meaning past years, have had some really successful seasons as far as statistically and ERA-wise and taking us to that next level. Along with Felipe and Matt, their pressure's all around, but I think the combination that we have as far as the older guys and the younger guys gel together, and I think you're just going to see us get better as the season goes and they get their time out on the mound.
The situation with our young pitchers was one where they came in and we didn't expect that they would have to be assuming a starting position early in the season, but because of injuries and unforeseen difficulties in some other areas, they've had to step up and start some games where the pressure's been on them. We had hoped to bring them along a little more slowly, but over the last month or so, they have pitched a lot better. They're a little more confidence, and I think that's made a big difference in their approach to the game. And I think learning from Felipe and listening to him and trying to emulate the things that he does out there when he's pitching have helped them a lot.
First, you know, the first part of the season is a little shaky, but I think now that we've got it under our belt, it's gonna be a lot easier.
It's been a little bit easier because everyone gets their own share of playing time. So the more you play, the better you feel about it, the more confidence you build up.
Nerves and just the idea of the new competition level has definitely been a sort of struggle for us. I think as the season's going on, though, you'll see him progress much better, and come conference time, I think you won't see him pitching like freshmen. You'll see him pitching like more like the upperclassmen.
The pitching staff, they may be young, but they've got a great catching duo behind them in Norberto Lopez and Ben Prill.
Yeah, Prill and Lopez have been very strong behind the plate so far this year. Both really good defensively. I mean, they throw their body in front of balls. They don't let anything get by them. Both real strong throwing arms as well. Offensively, they differ a little bit. Prill's more the extra base power kind of guy. Norberto will get the base hit when you need it, move guys over.
And this is a great dilemma, though, for Coach Sonny Hansley to have. I mean, he doesn't know who he's going to put, you know, where and when because there's so much depth. I mean, you could put Norberto in there behind the plate plate to catch, and you can have Prill be a DH, or you can have Prill behind the plate, and you bring in a guy like Molina to DH.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have, especially depth at the catcher position, because they tend to get banged up, so, you know, the foul tips and collisions at the plate. So it's good to have two catchers that you can use at any time.
Let's talk now specifically about Ben Prill, because here is a guy that 2 years ago was sitting on the bench, sat on the bench last year behind a player both times, both years, Brian Garrity, who was a great catcher for the Knights. He bided his time, and now he's a starting catcher having a great year.
Yeah, great year, bust-out year. I mean, Ben Prill offensively this year, he's leading the Knights. I mean, 347 batting average. He was right up around 400 for a while. Eight doubles, 4 home runs, 23 RBIs. You know, slugging percentage is .640. I mean, you can't forget that 5-for-5 games or 5-for-5 game, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 4 runs scored. I mean, that was a career day right there.
And you can't forget that this is coming from the same player who 2 years ago came in as a skinny freshman, and you never knew what kind of player we'd end up getting. Now look at him.
Yeah, Ben Prill obviously has spent a lot of time in the weight room. I mean, this guy's got that Lance Parrish, real strong upper body build. I mean, he's an imposing figure when he comes out there. I think teams look and say, wow, that guy's big.
Ben Prill, Pat, he is one heck of a story. I mean, here he is, the small Midwestern town boy coming into the big city, leading the Knights to wins. After all, he is the straw that's been stirring the Knights' drink this season.
He really came out of nowhere this year. I think maybe him knowing that, you know, Brian Garrity, you know, was in front of him, I don't think he worked as hard as he could. And I think this fall he really worked hard, and it shows in his play as far as, you know, defensively and offensively.
I think he's exceeded what we had thought he was going to do, and I think that's, again, a credit to him, because he's worked very, very hard at that. He's here early to hit, and he hits on the weekends on his own, does a lot of things to make himself a better player.
Ben worked hard. He always worked hard. I think he's gotten where he is now just because, sort of like how Brian Garrity did it, he was always our backup catcher, so he was catching all the bullpens, catching maybe 10 to 12 pitchers at a time sometimes, and just getting his work in. Ben's just having a remarkable season. He stepped up for us. As a junior, he's showing his senior leadership, and we couldn't really ask anything more from him.
When I first got here to NSU, I remember I was scared because you know, the pitching here was different. Things were different. My confidence level was a lot different than it is now. I remember guys were just so much bigger than I was. You know, I thought I couldn't compete with them, but you know, now it's a little different. I've matured a little bit, aged a little bit, and definitely been able to compete lately.
He's improved a lot. I don't know if it's from all the bullpens, or I think it's more mentally that he realized that he's got a chance, you know, to play this year, so he really stepped it up a notch.
And that's what it takes in this day and age of instant gratification. You got to work at it and get better at it every day. Right now, he's our main man. He's batting fourth for us. He's leading the team in RBIs, and he's just done a wonderful job. And I think the credit goes to him, sticking it out and, you know, putting up with the little playing time that he had last year behind a great catcher like Brian. You know, that's very unusual in this day and age.
I couldn't be happier for him. He's a great kid, and he really works hard.
You know, I had a feeling that as soon as we got back from, you know, January, as soon as we came back from Christmas break, I knew I had some things to do. I wanted to make all-conference catcher this year. I wanted to be the 4th batter, and things have worked out. My average has dropped a little bit more than I thought. You know, I started out, I was on a hot streak, hitting about 400 for a while, and then things dropped a little bit, but yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I mean, considering the fact that I hit like 170 when I first got here, and the fact that I'm hitting over 300 now, you know, I got to be pleased, stay confident. That's the biggest thing.
Hey, would I lie to you? I said we'd have an amazing show, and we did. But hey, it's time to go now. We got to get out of here, but we thank you for watching. We'll have the usual cast of characters back on next show. Dr. Pat Feely, Steve, Victor, Dina, Pepe, Felipe, and the rest of the NSU SportsBeat gang. I'm Mike Laderman. We'll see you next time. Be good.